From Los Angeles to Chicago to St. Louis, this summer is becoming the deadliest in memory.
Enough is enough. We're fighting the enemy within when we are shooting each other up on our streets.
Atlanta's mayor demanding an end to the violence after 8-year-old Sequoia Turner was shot and killed over the 4th of July weekend. But the gunfire has surged in Atlanta and many other cities across the country. Atlanta seeing a 300% spike in shooting victims the second week of July compared to the same time last year. In New York, shooting victims have skyrocketed 157% when compared to the same period last year. This month, 1-year-old DAVELL GARDNER Jr. died in Brooklyn after being shot in the stomach while sitting in a stroller during a barbecue.
He's a loving boy, loved his cartoons.
We spoke with his grandmother and father.
If you could say something to the people who opened fire, what would it be?
You don't have a heart. You took an innocent life that would never come back on this earth.
I was just devastated as soon as I heard the words. Like, I just felt weak and just fell to the ground. I was crushed.
Amid the escalating gun violence, Georgia's governor activating the National Guard. Missouri's governor calling a special legislative session to address violent crime, including a proposal to increase funding for witness protection. Some officials blaming the surge on several factors, including court closures due to the pandemic. More prisoners have also been released due to health concerns. The NYPD says 17% of shootings have involved people on probation or parole.
What we're seeing right now in New York City is very unusual. We haven't seen a spike in shootings and homicides like this since 1996.
Christopher Herman studies crime trends at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice. His research shows the dramatic surge.
What's going on?
So the first is the summertime spike. That attributes about 30% of that increase. The other increases, I think, are a result of the COVID shutdown. With the shutdown, a lot of people were spending more time indoors, less time outdoors. And we've seen this kind of backlog of violence. So altercations and maybe shootings that would have normally taken place during March, April, May, because of the shutdown, weren't taking place.
Is part of this really due to the pandemic?
Part of it is certainly due to the pandemic. Another part would also be some of the anti-police protests that have been occurring.
Since the death of George Floyd in May, tensions in many communities have been rising amid calls to defund the police.
In some police departments across the country, are cops taking a step back?
Yeah, because of the anti-police protests as well as the disbanding of the anti-crime unit. We see cops kind of under the microscope right now. So it's a very difficult time to be a police officer.
It's also a difficult time for the family of DAVELL GARDNER Jr.
Baby lives should matter. Young teenager lives should matter. It's not the older people doing it, it's the young people doing it. So they could protest day and night until the sun turns blue. But they need to stop the gun violence. That's what needs to end.
So, Gabe, President Trump is saying he's even looking at federal action to address the violence you're reporting on here. What would that look like exactly? How would they work with local and state authorities in these cities?
Well, yeah, you're right, Willie. President Trump is now saying that he's considering sending federal law enforcement to major cities like New York and Chicago to stop some of the violence there, pointing to what he sees as a success in Portland, Oregon, for example. But as you can imagine, Willie, that is drawing sharp pushback from some of these Democratic mayors. Mayor Bill de Blasio in New York, for example, tweeting out that he won't let it happen there, and Mayor Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, she's actually pushing back as well, saying she won't let federal law enforcement into her city, even sending a letter to President Trump blasting the idea.